Hey guys, this is the Civic RS EHEV, basically the hybrid version of the entire Civic range. Well, now this sits perhaps at the same level or even higher than the Civic RS Turbo. Today is October 13th and this is the first time that we are able to speak about this car. In fact, we drove this car back October 5th here at the Sepang International Circuit, but there was a lot of information that was embargoed, so we still do not have a lot that we can say about this car simply because we do not have this information. So in this video, I want to tell you exactly what I know and how we can differentiate the Civic RS Hybrid EHEV from the regular versions. Let's start from the exterior first, but as always, a word from our sponsor. Hey guys, we'd just like to take a couple of seconds to tell you about the BH Petrol's loyalty program. Now this is unlike any other loyalty program out there because it does not require you to carry the card. That is simply very hard to find, especially when you need it the most. Now with BH Petrol, all you need to do is download an application, go to BH Petrol, pour your petrol, take a receipt and simply scan it with your application. You get 1 e-point for every litre that you pour. So the next time you're at BH Petrol, be sure to download the BH Petrol Loyalty Program application and you can immediately start to collect your points and later redeem it for the many rewards that they have. The Civic RS EHEV is distinguished from the Civic RS petrol version by some chrome accents that you can find around the exterior of the car. The Civic RS petrol version has a lot of piano black, gloss black finishing around the car, where else the hybrid, the EHEV, you'll notice has a lot of chrome silver strips. There's chrome around the door handles, chrome around the wheels. They're the same size wheels but they're chromed. And then you also get a lot of chrome finishing up front here. And in typical Honda fashion, the Honda emblem has this blue accents around the outside. Now this is to denote that this is actually a hybrid version. And then if you come to the sides, well, basically, as I mentioned, a lot of chrome everywhere around the top, the door handles and such. Now at the back, now this is where things get interesting because the only way to distinguish the hybrid from the petrol version is that the hybrid has a single exhaust, whereas the petrol version has twin. And then of course you get this EHEV logo, this RS badging which the petrol version also has, and this spoiler which the petrol version also has. So that's how you distinguish the hybrid from the petrol from the outside. Let's check out the engine because that's the party trick of the hybrid. Now, the Civic RS EHEV, well, has a very different powertrain from its petrol-powered counterparts. Well, whereas the petrol-powered versions are powered by a 1.5-litre engine, the hybrid uses a 2-litre naturally aspirated engine. And then, of course, it's backed up by an electric motor. The electric motor that backs up the 2-litre engine produces 181 horsepower and a stonking 315 Newton meters of torque. Now the 2-litre engine by itself produces 139 horsepower and 182 Newton meters. Well, this is, in typical Honda fashion again, this is an Atkinson cycle engine. What does an Atkinson cycle engine mean? It's that it's just designed for fuel efficiency. Now the Atkinson cycle engine just squirts in, the character of the engine is that it squirts very little petrol into the combustion chamber. So that enhances efficiency, but by itself, it doesn't produce a lot of power. So typically, Atkinson cycle engines are backed up by an electric motor. So that's what we are seeing here today, an Atkinson cycle engine that is backed up by an electric motor that is actually quite powerful. So it doesn't only promise efficiency, promise to be quite fun on the road as well. Now, interestingly, the Civic Hybrid does not actually have a gearbox in the typical sense, in the traditional sense. There's no CVT gearbox in here. Instead, what this car does is that it uses a direct drive technology where the motors are able to independently drive this car forward or backwards, and this is further backed up by the engine. That's actually quite cool. But not only that, this system greatly enhances the efficiency of this car. In fact, Honda says that the Civic Hybrid is able to do 25 kilometers per litre. If you compare that to the Civic Turbo, it is said that the Civic Turbo does 17 kilometers per litre. So theoretically, the Civic Hybrid is able to travel 8 kilometers more per litre. How is that for efficiency? Around the outside, besides everything that I pointed out earlier, there are some other things that are actually different from the petrol version as well. For starters, the hybrid weighs nearly 100 kgs more than the petrol version, but that's understandably so because of the electric motors, the batteries and such. But besides that, the fuel tank on the hybrid is also smaller. The fuel tank on the petrol version is about 47 litres, whereas the fuel tank on the hybrid is just 40 litres. In terms of dimensions, well, it may seem like it's the same car, but actually, in terms of dimensions, it's actually just a little bit different. For starters, it's 1 millimeter longer than the petrol version, and it sits a little higher as well because it has to compensate for the additional weight that is weighing down the entire thing due to the hybrid components and such. But besides that, well, there really is not much different. In fact, a lot of the differences lays underneath the car. So that's all I can tell you today. Hang around for a couple more days. I'll be able to tell you more because everything is embargoed, unfortunately. Thank you for watching. I'm Kashi Dillon. This Piston, the Piston Show. As usual, do consider subscribing.